Hi, I'm Inanna, and I am practicing 17 days of no self, going into deep meditation in order to give you the answers from my highest self on self mastery. Today is day 3, and right now I'm extremely calm because I just did 1 full hour of chakra balancing, and I feel like I'm floating, but we're going to get through this. Every day when I go into these meditations, my goal is not to steer what it is that I'm talking about. I know that the overarching topic is self-mastery. However, I'm not sure how I'm going to bring that to you daily. So when I go into meditation, I'm looking for the things that drop into my consciousness. And it just so happens that as I was at the root chakra part of the chants in the chakra balancing meditation, my 3 plant babies popped into my consciousness seemingly out of nowhere. And I was like, oh my God, what better way to explain self-mastery and living in this particular dual universe that you are literally witnessing things outside of yourself as a measure of how you are studying life, okay, and a mirror as to who you are. What better way to explain the elements in self-mastery and the duality of this mirror universe than through my plant babies? I don't know about you, but on this channel, I am a respecter of all light energies. I believe that all things hold sentience, especially my plants, okay? And they are the perfect mirror. I consider them to be distant cousins. So what they wanted me to name them today for this particular conversation is the 3 wise amigos. And that's so fitting because we're talking about Christ consciousness, which I have, and the fact that you have this story of the three wise men. However, they wanted to be the 3 wise amigos, and amigos is a play on the fact that all 3 of their names start with the letter A. So you have Abundance, Aurora, and Amora. So before I introduce you to my plant babies, I just want to cover the basis of how we relate to plants and how this mirrors our experience. The first thing I'd like to point out is that if you are on a journey of self-mastery, plants and doing horticulture is literally the absolute best thing you could ever do. Plants can teach you so much about yourself on a spiritual level, and it also serves as a mental health and grounding aspect in your everyday experience. It's something that forces you to sit and pay attention and be within your body and to care for something outside of yourself. In order for you to learn how to properly grow a plant, it's actually you learning or mirroring how to grow your own soul. Plants need care just like we need care. And I find that a lot of times through caring for plants and how they operate, I am learning higher spiritual lessons as well as how to utilize them in a light-bending, spiritual, magical way in order to expand my own world. Plants have very, very high energy as well as sentience. And what I find is that oftentimes when I'm not thinking about my plants, I don't set a schedule or anything, but I try to be in tune with their watering schedule versus me putting an alarm on my phone. And oftentimes they will signal to me mentally, telepathically, hey, we need water, especially if it goes on too long. And they are very good at this signaling. So I believe that the plants are not only sentient, but they also serve as a mirror to teach us about how to grow our souls. And by watching them grow and watching what you do with your hands and cultivating them into helping them spring forward to their best selves, you will see your own self mirrored and your world around you begin to be mirrored exactly the way that you're growing the plants. When you're talking about self-mastery, you're talking about the magic of the elements, and earth or the soil within the plants serve as nutrients in order to grow the plants. It needs this as a foundation, and so do we. The soil represents grounding. It represents you being stable as well as your foundation. The great thing about plants and soil is that you learn that you can always change the soil if the soil is not working for the plants. And this is an echo of you being able to change your foundation if it's not working for you. You can always swap out the soil or the foundation of yourself, and you can always ground yourself in new stability so that you can have a different experience. We are literally soil. We are formed from the dust of the ground. So what's more fitting or a relational mirror than plants and soil? In a magical sense or a light bending sense, when you're thinking about things that you want to change, a lot of practitioners understand this as using the soil or the dirt because it is nutritional and it is a growing mechanism. So if you're planting something, whether that be words of affirmations, or you're using the soil in a way in order for you to ground something. This is the magical aspect of it. And this is how you understand how to chaotically gather the items that you need in order to do what it is that you need to do. Magic and light bending in and of itself is all about the elements and what they embody. It's not about a specific type of ritual that you read in a book or you get passed down to. Understanding the elements at their core and what they're capable of doing, meaning that, okay, soil means growth. So I'm going to relate that to whatever it is that I'm trying to accomplish in self-mastery. Plants absorb carbon dioxide from the air. Through photosynthesis, they convert CO2 into glucose energy and release oxygen, O2. Stomata, tiny pores, regulate gas exchange and even water loss. So when you talk about the relationship between photosynthesis, the air, oxygen, and plants, we are a direct mirror of that. And not only that, we have a symbiotic relationship with the plants and the trees around us. They clean the air, they provide the oxygen. In addition to the fact that the roots of the plants are a mirror of our own lungs. So in essence, you could say that we have our own roots internally, and the symbiosis between the plants is cleaning that oxygen so that they can provide the air within our lungs. This is how they are able to transmute energy, and this is how you should think about plants and air. In regards to self-mastery and this particular element in the plants, what you should be learning is the symbiotic relationship between you and air. In self-mastery, we're talking about breathing. We're talking about controlling the emotions. This means that you should go with the flow and allow yourself to breathe in instances where it otherwise seems impossible. Using the air element is key in understanding how flow actually works and how symbiotic relationships can be either beneficial or they can be detrimental to you. Using the air element in any magical form is using it in a way where you are sending something off into the air, or you are spreading something into the air that you want to release or you want to go into the flow. This, in a magical sense, is how you work with the air element and how plants are a mirror of that. As far as the fire element, we're going to direct this towards the sun and photosynthesis. And when we talk about photosynthesis, we are also photosynthetic beings, meaning that our souls are the light energy of the sun, as I teach on this channel. We are actually photon light. And our relationship to fire, or the relationship of the fire in terms of a magical sense and a self-mastery sense, is understanding how to control the fire of emotions. And that means anger and rage and passion, okay? And when you think about the fire in a magical sense, you should be thinking about it burning things up, or it getting rid of or clearing out energy. Fire is often used to clear forests and burn down negative energy. So when you think about self-mastery in a magical sense or a fire sense, you should be thinking about it in those aspects. Our circadian rhythms are in direct relationship to the sun. You have more serotonin, or you're more awake when the sun is present, and you start to get sleepier when the sun is out of your presence, meaning it goes to the other side of the world and it gets dark, right? And you start to have more melatonin and go into a hibernative state. So sun in and of itself is a charge, and when you're thinking about fire, you should be thinking of it in that way. You can use the element of fire as a charge, sun as a recharge, and you can also use the element of fire or anger to your benefit. Anger does not always have to be a negative thing. Anger can be used to transmute energy. Even if you are venting, even if you are angry and you decide that you want to hit a pillow, or you want to vent and scream at the top of your lungs, you can use these emotions to transmute negative energy. Fire is also burning things, and using the element of fire, you can release things, or you can cleanse things. So thinking about it in a magical sense. And I will get to the other aspects as far as like the colors and how that relates as well, because we can also translate all of these elements color-wise onto paper, and we can use geometry and numerical values to convey the exact same thing. Now we get to water, which is my favorite element of all. The water is all about flow. It's all about calm or raging energy. It all depends on what other elements are engaging with that water. Sometimes the water can be extremely calm and crystal clear. Other times it can be raging, depending on the wind and the other elements that you add to it. It can be hot, it can be cold, it can be frozen, okay? So when you're thinking about water, you should be thinking about the flow and how on a mental level and on a physical level, we are all embodying this particular element. And plants use it for growth, and they cannot grow without it. But it shows you how by watering the plants, they flow upwards or outwards in order for them to grow, as well as us needing water to drink in order for us to sustain ourselves and not, become dehydrated. Embodying water means that you are fluid in your movements and fluid in your thoughts. And emotions are not just about being in them, they're about using them and flowing with them as well. When obstacles come, being able to fluidly move around them. Be like the water, okay? Because life is full of surprises. And the more you study about the symbiosis between you and water, the deeper your knowledge will come. And understanding when to water your plants is extremely key in understanding when sometimes you need to water yourself. And that could mean watering yourself down in terms of relaxing, maybe not doing anything but being still, or being in a rage of water, meaning that you are wild as a tempest and being blown about so that you can make a change or change something in your environment. Using water in a magical sense is all about submersion. When you think about the baptism and going underwater and coming out anew, this could be anything from a spiritual bath to you taking something and placing it in the water to allow the current to take it as a flow. When you're thinking about the things that you want to accomplish, even the color blue that's associated with water, you're thinking about how you can relate those things in terms of the flow of your own magic. And I like to use water in order to dissolve things. I like to use water to take things away, and I like to use water as a moisture element in order to saturate things or to make them a little bit moist and loosen them. Okay, there's so many different ways that you can apply this, but the key here is understanding how each of the elements work at their core is what's going to help you engage in these things on a magical level or a light bending level. Plants also respond to electrical signals. And when we talk about ether in space, I actually use crystals in my plants. And this tends to be a great booster of the energetic frequency of the plants, and it helps them somehow to look spruced up and grow very well because of the lattice structure of crystals. The energy of crystals forces any and all things to just align itself, okay? So I like to put crystals in my plants, but crystals are also a part of my own meditation processes. Like I like to line my body with crystals because they are a direct energy and they are an alignment energy because of the very structured nature of their lattice structure. And plants also can benefit from crystals as well as copper. Ether in and of itself is the electrical current. It's the electrical current running through your body. It's the electrical current that exists within Earth's closed system and the energy that we can garner through that ether, right? And you should think of ether as this free available energy that exists all around you. When you are using words, they are carried through the ethers. So when you're thinking about ether in a magical sense, you're thinking about how you're using it to transmute that energy, carry energy just like the wind, and it has this particular frequency or electromagnetic wave that can carry something in an electrified sense. A key takeaway in terms of ether and self-mastery is this. If you're using this in any form of a light bending, you should think about it in the sense of the charge, okay? And charge is also a charge of emotions. It can be a charge of you using the elements as far as being outside, whether you're in the water or whether you're on the ground and you're grounding yourself or you're touching a tree. Electrical charge, okay, is ether and its magic. And if you have a specific emotion that you're trying to convey, whether that be anger, whether that be joy, whether that be tears, you can use this ether energy by charging through the charged emotions what it is that you wish to express in an electrical sense. And that in and of itself will convey outward into the ethers as you speak it, as you embody it, as you feel it, as you emanate it through your body and translate into your magic. Now, in regards to all of the elements and everything that we have just discussed, I would also like to preface that all of this stuff is mental as well, meaning that you can train the mind in order to be a space or an alter space because everything is light and frequency on a quantum level. So when you're talking about creating or manifesting something new, it all starts in the mind. You have to think it first. If you think about how to build a chair and you say, okay, I want to envision it like this, you're going to have to physically do it. However, it started as a thought. So think about altars and spaces and magic in a sense of a mental altar. You can completely build a world. And I like to point out the book Philip Cooper's The Magician as a great example of how you can build altars of the mind, and you can learn all about the elements at their base level so you understand how to work these things in your favor. So no, you don't have to just physically work with the elements on a physical level. You can work with them on a mental level inside of your mind by building spaces. Also, you can work with the elements on paper. Yes, paper. Paper is from the earth, right? And the colors are the frequencies of those energies. So if I'm thinking about putting something on paper, if I'm working with water, I may draw a circle, or I may do like a squiggly line to represent that particular energy, right? And I may do it in a blue ink. And you can literally build worlds, and you can build your own scientific elemental table on a spread of paper, okay, by using geometry, sacred geometry that matches each of those elements, as well as pen colors and different colors in order to convey that frequency or that energy of that element, like orange being fire or red being fire. And just to piggyback on the thought of mirrors and the reason why we are here in self mastery, seeing yourself in the elements and seeing yourself in nature is key. Nothing in this world is working against you. Everything comes from the source, including your cell phone. You can always change the idea or the perception of what it is that you are encountering on a regular basis to benefit you. I don't see nature as my enemy. I see it as something that works in symbiosis with me, just like the trees and oxygen, just like the earth. Everything is here and for use in my disposal, and I use it to my benefit. Even the animals and the insects communicate with me because this is how I see the world, as magical. And I see everything as a mirror of me. And everything that happens, I'm extremely in tune to what it is that is trying to convey to me. This is how you master your magic. And the world would have you believe that all of this stuff is irrational and that you're not supposed to be hugging on trees, or you're not supposed to be looking at things in this way and thinking of it as, these are sentient energies. But when you redevelop the way that you think about life and the way that you think about light bending on a quantum level, you will develop a newfound relationship with everything around you and understand how you can use all of these things to your benefit and how they are all working for your benefit. Because I find that a lot of times my plants and everything is surrounding me, even the birds and the trees, are always seeking to help me along in my journey. It's kind of like thinking about yourself like you're Cinderella or something, okay? And it is very crucial for you to look at things in this way because it is a key element in how you're going to expand on everything that you are. So without further ado, here are my three plant babies. This first one is Amora, and this is an arrowhead plant. It has these shapes in the leaves that are like hearts. So this is why I named it Amora like love. And I wanted this plant to be a reflection of love and grow like love. However, the plant wound up getting sick, okay? And I think that's a mirror of my own personal experience, to be honest with you. Love can get sick and love can start to wither and die. However, what I did was I gave it some neem oil and treated it a little bit, and it is definitely on the mend. And I also gave it a little crystal. I don't know if you can see that crystal. I have a little crystal down here inside of it, which is like an angel crystal. It's like a quartz type crystal geode. And I put that in there, and it seems to be thriving in healing. Okay. And one of the things that I also do when I'm starting my plants and I'm using it in both a mirrored sense and a magical sense, I actually write tasks that I want these plants to accomplish and put the papers down in the soil. Okay. So I have given each one of my three plant babies a task to accomplish. They are working for me. And it's something like saying, Amora, as you grow, this grows, or as you are sprouting, this sprouts. And I place that in the soil and I expect the plant to manifest whatever it is that I put in the soil. So I also plan to take and propagate this plant since it's been going through such a hard time. And as a representation of my amour or my love, give it a new life. I'm going to propagate a portion of this into another vessel, so to speak, to grow another plant out of this plant as a representation of my love, giving a new opportunity or a new chance or a new vessel. Okay. And then you have Aurora. Now, I would also like to preface that I bought Amora from Home Depot. Okay. So I'm not entirely sure if that has something to do with the fact that she was sick, but this was not a propagated plant. These are like my second string of plant babies. I had a bunch of plant babies that I had to let go because of, circumstances in my life. And this is my second attempt at creating a small hibernation, because I've always believed in having plants around me in a mental health sense and in a magical sense. And the Amora was bought at Home Depot, but these other two were actually found and propagated from outdoors. And this particular one is called a purple heart. I love it because it has the purple color as well as the green color, which is a representation of the aurora borealis, which is why I named it Aurora. And when I first got this plant, it was maybe, I want to say almost a year ago. I want to say it's been like 9 months. And I found it on the ground and it was just sitting there, a small little tiny portion. It was very small. So I took it and I brought it home and I put it in some water to propagate it and grow the roots. And then I had it in like this little small jar and it wasn't really going anywhere, right? It was just growing according to that little glass jar that I had it in. So I had to, in order to grow it even more, put it in a pot. And as soon as I put it in this pot, this is what it started to do. Okay. And like, look at it now. It is so massive. Okay. And I like to think of this as the aurora borealis in the real world, because of course I am manifesting something on a very large scale. And is it a coincidence that I'm growing this particular plant and the aurora is spreading? Well, I can tell you that my intention on naming this Aurora was also, it also has something to do with that, because that is a part of my teachings. However, my intention with the Aurora was supposed to be about the spreading of love. The color purple, which is the third eye chakra, and the green, which is the heart chakra, is the embodiment of this plant. And as I see it grow, which I also have so many flowers, okay, so she is a feminine plant, okay, and she represents my love and my heart, and she represents my consciousness as a fused energy. And I believe that on a magical level, as she is growing, so is the aurora borealis spreading throughout the earth, because you have to believe in things in that way. Yes, it's that deep. And I also have a crystal in her, and she has her own task by which I gave her. As she grows, I am growing in such and such way. Thirdly, we have abundance over here, and this is my pothos. Okay, I got her from this place that's down the street from me that has a ton of these, and their leaves grow so massive. Let me get closer here so you can see. But their leaves grow extremely massive. And this plant I call abundance because they're so resilient. They just grow and grow and grow. And this is a representation of financial aspects in terms of inheritance, and just overall never stopping. Because when you think about this in a spiritual sense, we are always abundant. We have more than what we need. The earth is always providing. So I named it abundance because it'll grow through anything. And also, it doesn't take much in order to maintain these. And they grow so long, as you can see. My plant is all the way down there now. Okay, all the way down there. And this plant is like my absolute favorite. I plan to grow more of these and put them into different pots. I think the last time I did this, I had made about 5 out of 1 vine. Okay, I had about 5 pots just like this, where I grew these out in multitude, and just love, love, love the pothos and what they represent. They're also green, and that to me represents the heart chakra, and they're shaped like within the shape of a heart. So I like to keep a pothos around just for so many different aspects and what it embodies. And I also have a crystal in this as I throw a little coins in there from time to time, just to represent the abundance of money, or the frequency of money, and growing that. Okay. And the fact that I am always provided for is a testament to the fact that this plant is thriving. I am never, ever without. I hope you enjoyed this message. If you would like to join me on this journey of 17 days and you want to get into meditation, I will post in my key takeaways a little bit later the meditation video that I use, as well as the crystals I use to align my chakras while I'm doing this meditation, and a little step-by-step guide in regards to how I go about doing that. I hope you enjoyed this message. Please like, share, and subscribe, and put a comment down in the comments just to let me know what you think of this content overall. Keep shining bright. Peace, love, and light.